rate. Destructive fires tore through massive sections of the Amazon rainforest last summer. And even before that, it had lost 20% of its landmass to deforestation in the last 4 decades.
This Friday night, the U.S. now declaring a public health emergency amid this outbreak of the coronavirus across the globe. We have now witnessed the largest spike yet in deaths in a 24-hour period since this outbreak began. New restrictions here in the U.S. Foreign nationals who pose a risk of spreading the virus will be barred from entering the country, and planes from China will now only be allowed at 7 airports in the U.S.
At the University of Nebraska Medical Center, the first human trial for a coronavirus treatment is underway. The first patient, one of 14 cruise ship passengers from Japan, now undergoing treatment in Omaha. Eventually, 400 patients will be in the trial worldwide.
These are the people that will potentially have a more severe disease, more sequelae, and potentially even be a life-threatening situation.
Though the nation's health experts caution a vaccine may not be widely available for 12 to 18 months.
If this cycles and comes back next year, then having a vaccine a year and a half from now will be very applicable.
The latest numbers from the CDC, 60 known coronavirus cases in the U.S., though that number is expected to grow. The HHS secretary on Capitol Hill.
The risk right now is very low to Americans. From a public health perspective, we technically are in a state of containment in the United States.
At Holy Name Medical Center in Teaneck, New Jersey, the medical staff is already preparing.
Want to make sure you're pulling the cuff of the glove up over the entire sleeve.
Reviewing protocols for keeping a contagious virus from spreading.
This is called negative pressure room.
Including air-sealed treatment rooms.
And any staff that went into that room would wear appropriate gloves, goggles, masks, and gowns, with appropriate hand washing.
Tonight, in a rare move, the U.S. declaring coronavirus a public health emergency. President Trump barring foreign nationals who pose a transmission risk from entering the country. In effect, a temporary ban on nearly all Chinese travelers, the world's most populous country. Planes from China will only be allowed to land at 7 U.S. airports starting Sunday. Americans returning from the hot zone could be subject to 14 days of quarantine. Already in isolation, 195 Americans who chartered from the epicenter of the outbreak. What was once a 3-day voluntary observation, now extended to a mandatory 2 weeks at an airbase in Riverside, California. The first time in 50 years the CDC has had to issue such an order.
We were all wearing masks. We were all taking major precautions to not touch or shake hands or take the mask off our faces because, again, we weren't in the
San Francisco has no reports of coronavirus yet. The mayor has declared a state of emergency to free up resources. Other big city mayors trying to reassure the public.
Right now, we have 1,200 hospital beds that we can make available immediately for any individual who is in the testing process or who tests positive or needs isolation in a hospital setting.
In the event that we need to ramp up quarantining, we are absolutely prepared to do that.
Universities across the country are suspending their study abroad programs in hard-hit Italy and Asia. University of Illinois students Carly Peldiak and Grace Clavorn have left Italy and are now in Vienna, not sure where they're going next.
So I'm actually really freaked out. The first time in my life I felt like I don't know where I'm going to be next week.
The coronavirus threat still looming large.
Tom, there's been some confusion over whether there are enough protective masks and gowns in the event of an outbreak. What's the reality check on that?
So New York City today said it is asking the federal government to help get more protective equipment so that it's prepared. The FDA says there is no shortage of masks, of gowns, of gloves right now. It has 30 million stockpiled, but if there were a true pandemic, it might need 10 times that many.
Let's bring you those pictures again. It's a snowy scene in the nation's capital. You can see how big the snowflakes are in those pictures. A fierce winter storm has moved in, and tens of centimeters of snow effectively will be on the ground by the end of this system moving out. The morning commute, it's been a pretty messy one so far. I'm not sure if we're going to see car slip sliding away there, but taking a corner can be a risky proposition, and the evening commute could be even worse.
Jackson, Mississippi are weathering some of the state's worst flooding in decades. The Pearl River is flowing well beyond its banks, turning streets into waterways, creeping into homes, and leaving entire softball fields underwater. And the river is not done rising.
If you have not evacuated yet, we urge you to do so.
Boats from the Mississippi Department of Wildlife spent the weekend floating from door to door, urging residents to get out. And a group searching for pets left behind.
We're here to help you.
Scooped up one very lucky dog.
Just by the hour, I guess.
It's definitely coming down quite strongly now. If we take a bit of a look around, you can just see how big some of these snowflakes are. These steps were pretty much clear about an hour ago, and so now they're being cleared off right now. We're just in front of the War Memorial here, which is just before Parliament Hill, and you might even be able to see there's a couple of tracks there. That was from somebody skiing to work, I guess, this morning. So an interesting way to make their commute in this morning. It is a messy commute for a lot of people. People are trudging through the snow. Cars are slow going. Buses are out in full force this morning, but the LRT, which is one of our new main systems to get around, is only down to 7 trains, and that's only about half of.
Come on, baby.
With nearly 1,000 homes in harm's way, many people scrambled to save what they could, hoping sandbags would salvage the rest.
We lived in Houston, so I lived through Harvey. So I don't want to be rescued in the middle of the night with water coming in your house.
With days of heavy rain across the South and more to come this week, 10 million people are under flood warnings in parts of Georgia, Louisiana, Kentucky, and the Carolinas. Near the Tennessee River, a landslide swept away 2 homes, leaving behind nothing but a pile of debris. Back in Mississippi, it could be a week before many can return to their houses. For Barbara and Jerry Beavers, pictures from afar will have to do.
The kids want to remember this, how high it really got.
Yes. Never seen it this bad.
Not like this. Huh?
For thousands of people near Australia's southeast coast, it's time to leave. Emergency services have urged a mass exodus from hundreds of square kilometres before dangerous and deadly bushfire conditions arrive.
I can see they're all nervous and anxious and everyone's just on edge.
But it's a long trip out. The New South Wales south coast is hugely popular with tourists in this peak summer holiday season. And major roads have been closed due to fire risks, leaving motorists only a handful of escape routes.
It's just a scary feeling, I think. Just everything that's going on. There was no fuel, we've got no power, no phone service out where we are, so yeah. We just
not knowing what's going on or what we're expecting. Like, it's just everywhere. We're getting mixed everything.
Yeah, mixed information from different people to stay, go, and yeah, it's just a bit hard at the moment.
Authorities have described Saturday as Spike Day for the fires and warned firefighters would be unable to control raging blazes. A state of emergency has been declared for New South Wales, Australia's most populous state. It gives authorities extraordinary powers for 1 week.
From tomorrow, they will be subject to forced evacuations, road closures, road openings, and anything else we need to do as a state to keep our residents safe and to keep property safe. We don't take these decisions lightly, but we also want to make sure we're taking every single precaution to be prepared for what could be a horrible day on Saturday.
Criticism of the Prime Minister's leadership won't go away. Environmentalists say global heating has worsened the fires, and Scott Morrison has been accused of ignoring the climate crisis and ignoring the concerns of Australians.
Hardly any civilian is allowed to enter the town of Agoncillo now. And it is clear why. there's just a massive earthquake. I know even police officers will have to leave from their station. We were just here a few moments ago, hoping to embed with them, but now we really have to leave this place. Officials are calling this area Ground Zero. Agoncillo is just around 10 kilometers away from the Taal volcano that erupted on Sunday, spewing ashes and lava. We've been told that water in this lake has gone up by a meter, raising fears that it might spill over its banks, hampering efforts to help those in need.
You saw how it's like. The situation is so volatile. It is hard for us even to secure our own men. This is why we don't allow most civilians to return.
Violent explosions like these haven't been seen here in decades. And experts warn there could be more.
When Leroy Miner heads into the poverty-stricken districts of Nairobi to deliver fresh produce. It's pouring with rain, which is unusual at this time of year. But climate change is affecting Kenya's normal weather patterns. Leroy gets around on a solar-powered cargo e-bike.
Full battery charge on Saturday, it can do you a good 60 kilometers. And if on a solar, like a sunny day, a full battery charge can take you up to 100 kilometers. So the panels gives you an extra range when it's sunny.
The bike can reach a speed of 40 kilometers an hour, even when it's carrying a heavy load. The solar panel on the roof protects Leroy from the rain, and the battery keeps charging even in this kind of weather. Leroy works for a local company called Kwanza Tukula. It supplies pre-prepared staple foods to street food vendors in mostly impoverished neighbourhoods, using sustainable sources of renewable energy.
We want to be sustainable, that's the number one driver, but also we want to be economically sustainable so that we're able to produce products that are affordable for our customers who are mainly the poor. And in order to do that, we find it more efficient to use green energy.